So please help me welcome Mark Samouilhan. Thank you.
I must say it's somewhat intimidating for a printer to stand in front of all these professional speakers, but I'll give it a day. I'm just glad your app about the going about the day jobs. As a company, Pinetown Printers has been around since 1969, and we've been printing books ever since I've been there, which is 1993. We print soft cover books, hard cover books, diaries, magazines, etc. We do have other divisions, we do commercial print, etc., but about 58% of our business is in those areas. We have printed for many years for big publishers, mainly in the educational field, but we've also printed for a lot of medium-sized and smaller publishers. And we, in our catalogue, are some of the very small publishers we print for. So what's happened over the years is that we've printed a lot for people who self-publish. And as you all know, a couple of them have done well over the years, but most of them we found they've battled. And they battled for two reasons, because in the past you always had to print a lot of books. So if you came along and said, I wanted to print a book, you had to print 2,000 books. And it wasn't really, well, what is the cost per copy? It was, well, that's going to cost you 80,000 Rand or something like that. So for a lot of people, that always, at the first step, put you off. And then in the second step, we dealt with people who I thought had really good books, and you really battled to get those books out there. And they would really, you'd see them go full bore, and they'd print their 2,000 books, and they'd go full bore in the beginning, and we'd actually warehouse some of the books for them because they didn't have enough space, and you'd see the books go out, and they're meeting to buy exclusive books, and etc., etc. And you kind of overstart to see it start diminishing, and they almost start giving up. We had people's books sitting in our warehouse for many years, until we eventually had to tell them, I think it's like a zero debtors, we could eventually have zero stock. So those are the problems we found. We about 4 years ago started our photo book division called Verbal Picks, and it's a photo book company where we started dealing with one-off people. It was all internet-based. People downloaded our software, they made their own photo book, they uploaded it to us, and 5 days later we printed it. It was quite foreign for us because we used to printing 20,000 and 30,000 books, and suddenly you've got sort of one precious book and you've got to get that right, and they're used to doing sort of the big numbers. So what we did is we introduced a company called I.Go.Books, and I've put some of the catalogs out there. And what the company, we started in two areas. We purchased a whole, what happened in the print industry is that digital came along. And when I talk about digital, I'm not talking about digital as in the internet, etc., but where we could print much smaller runs. And we've got machines which probably look like large photostat machines, but these machines are still big machines. They weigh a couple of tons, but we can produce much smaller quantities now. And we can produce that in color, and we can produce it in black and white. Printing the book is just the one part of it, is how you bind it. So we can bind small, short runs in from as little as one book. One book doesn't really make it feasible at this stage. If you're doing a photo book, it makes it feasible because the cost of a photo book can vary anywhere between 295 and going up to 1,000 Rand, depending on how thick it is. But when people now want to do short-run books, so if you wanted to come along and say, well, now we want to produce 100 of these books. And it's opened up a massive market for us because there are a lot of people who want to produce a short run, whether it's they want to test the market on a new book coming out, or they only want to produce 100, or maybe the book's at the end of its life cycle, and people who know in publishing, as soon as your book, after a certain number of years, goes out of print or publication, there's copyright issues or things, so people like to keep those books going at all costs, so you can start producing smaller number of books at the end of the life cycle. So we started off by just producing shorter run books for people who needed that. What we found then, what was happening is that a lot of people were really battling to distribute the books. They always said, well, I know someone at CNA and I know someone at Exclusive Books, but you soon find out it's actually not that easy trying to get those books into those areas. So what we then did is we thought, well, our next step is to set up a distribution model which allowed us to be able to distribute for people that can get into those areas. And to be honest, it's not always easy to get into. There's no guarantees that zero debtors can automatically get into Exclusive Books and the likes of the CNA, etc., etc. In fact, it's becoming more and more difficult. Those groups, people probably know, have all been under pressure. There's been buyouts there, and they basically buy your book, put it on their shelves, and there's a sale or return policy, but at the end of the day, they're paying for that book, and it's taking out very expensive rent, etc. So they are obviously very strict about how your book, what books they will take on. We've gone into partnership because ostensibly at the end of the day we are a printer, but we've also got IT capabilities, etc., etc. But we've gone into partnership with a distributor in the Cape, who then distributes all our books throughout the country. And they've got their own reps which go into the smaller areas, but then also they go into the CNAs, Exclusive Books, etc., etc. So that was our sort of second part of it. We also introduced our own website where people can sell their books, and we're about to launch an author's website. So in other words, we believe the authors are the best people to sell their own books at the end of the day. So if we set up the author's website, what happens is that they will use all the technologies that the people here talk about, the Facebooks, the Twitters, etc., to try and push their own book. We're developing the back end. So if you go into our current website at the moment, you can order a book, we deliver it to you. We're used to delivering one-off books, and our photo book company, we deliver 200 a day. And that goes to people all around the country. So now we are delivering one-off books via a website. To be honest, it's very difficult to build momentum in a website because you're up against Kalahari, Amazon, etc., etc. We're very aware of that, and we've joined up with a couple of small publishers, and if you see, there's quite a few niche areas like in nature, military, etc., and we're now getting involved with their organizations like conservancies, etc., etc., military organizations. It just happens to be those are some of the smaller publishers we deal with, and we've worked with them over the last year since we launched it, and we're starting now to work with their organizations to try and sell their books directly because they've all got databases, etc., etc. But the bespoke websites where we're designing 2 or 3 different layouts, and they'll be either a page long or 2 page long, but then the author will be able to use that. It will come into our back end, we'll do the transaction, and we will deliver the book for them. So you can push your own book. So that's coming out in the new year. And then finally, the third phase will be into the latter part of next year, where we plan to put together infrastructure where, like you talk about how you design covers, etc., etc. There's a lot that goes into a book. We obviously deal with a lot of publishers who we've got associations with, and we are going to be getting a panel of suppliers who will come under our umbrella, who will help people with their cover designs and help people with their editing and help people, etc., etc., etc. It does. The fact that we can send out to the Exclusive Books and that, it doesn't guarantee that people can do it. A lot of that we want the people to do on their own, through their own, and we will be embracing a lot of Twitter and Facebook, etc., with potential customers and let them try and do as much as possible, but also put them with experts that we can do that with. We'll also be looking at electronic versions, obviously e-books, etc., etc., and we've done a little bit of that. We're also going to be looking at, obviously, as a printer, you've always got to electronic is coming, and I enjoy, like you say, there's as much paper around now than there ever was. There are no illusions that print is under pressure, but you can evolve and you can adapt. And there's things like augmented reality, where people are now starting to say, we're looking at with our photo books that when you send a photo book to Gran overseas, you can actually use augmented reality, and if it's a picture of the birthday party, you can start looking at the video of the birthday party, etc., etc. And obviously we've had some discussions with some of, particularly if you start looking at birds and some of the nature books, where the book is the guide, but you can then go into certain things with augmented reality, QR codes, etc., etc. A lot of those things are happening overseas, and they will be coming here. So we're obviously going to be looking at that. We still believe a printed book is alive and well. I actually read an article yesterday that in the States, in the last year, the printed books still went up by 4%, which is amazing in these times. So people are still reading printed books. So for us, that's fantastic, but we're very aware that you've got to have a bit of everything, so we'll be slowly trying to add that into the equation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.